The country's economy has been on a downward spiral since the end of the third quarter last year. But improved performance in the agriculture, mining, tourism and manufacturing sectors has seen the economy showing recovery. Managing Director at Simonis Storm Securities, Bruce Hans, says the government should slowly withdraw itself from the economy.
So if you have such a huge government, that is not a good thing for economic development going forward. But that's a structural issue, and that's something that needs, one would have to look at that critically and try to resolve that over probably a couple of quarters or maybe a couple of years.
Hansen also emphasized that policies of action to guide decisions and achieve rational outcomes must be encouraged.
I think most notably is probably the NIEF or NIEP legislation that we have, where people are quite uncertain as to what the rules are. And if you look at economic literature, it's quite clear on the point that you have to have clear rules of engagement when it comes to private sector, when it comes to how does one do business within the economy, and it must be a certain environment.
Inflation in emerging economies, he said, is decelerating, driven mainly by food inflation, which Bruce says is a good idea.
We've also seen that if you look at energy prices, those oil prices, the oil price has not increased significantly. It's sort of range bound. Now all of those does augur well for the for inflation being lower, and especially when it comes to emerging economies, as you've mentioned, because emerging economies have always been struggling with high inflation. But now we've seen that that is actually one of the drivers why we see that the emerging economies are doing slightly better than what your developed economies are doing.
Franklin Muningirwa, Windhoek.